The stars were quiet that night. The human engineer, Daniel Cross, floated in his small repair ship near the edge of a forbidden sector. His job was simple: check the damaged satellites, fix the old solar panels, and then return home. But Daniel had always felt uneasy here. The forbidden zone was dark, filled with broken ships and strange signals. Rumors said many who entered never returned. His scanner beeped. Daniel frowned. Strange. That's not a satellite signal. The sound was steady, faint, but alive. It was not metal breaking. It was not static. It was a distress call. He leaned closer to the monitor. The signal came from a small craft drifting far away, almost hidden among the rocks of an asteroid belt. The ship was not human. Its design was curved, smooth like flowing water, glowing faint blue in places. Daniel's chest tightened. An alien vessel, he whispered. He knew what this meant. Galactic Law was clear. No human must interfere with alien life without council permission. Contact was forbidden. Rescue was forbidden. Even standing too close was forbidden, and yet someone was inside. He adjusted his ship and moved closer. His heart beat faster. His hands trembled as he gripped the controls. Part of him wanted to turn back. But the signal was weak, desperate, almost like a whisper in the dark. The alien craft had crashed against a broken asteroid. Metal twisted, engines dead. A large crack split its side. Through the broken window, Daniel saw movement. Someone lay inside, small, fragile, struggling to breathe. He docked. His hands shook as he opened the emergency hatch and floated through. Inside was chaos. The walls glowed faintly, alive with alien technology he had never seen. Symbols he could not read flickered across cracked panels. And on the floor, curled up in pain, was a girl. Daniel froze. She looked almost human. Soft skin, silver hair that glowed faintly under the broken lights, and eyes closed tight in suffering. But her ears were slender, shaped differently, and her clothes shimmered like woven starlight. She gasped, each breath sharp and painful. Her chest rose weakly, her lips pale. Daniel's mind screamed, "Leave now. You'll be punished. You'll be hunted." But his heart said something else. If you walk away, she will die. He knelt beside her.
Hey, can you hear me?
Her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, she opened her eyes. They were the color of deep oceans, glowing faintly. She stared at him with confusion and fear. She whispered something in her language, soft and broken. Daniel didn't understand, but one word was clear. Help. The sound hit him harder than any law. He pulled out his portable scanner. Her lungs were collapsing, unable to process the oxygen-rich air leaking into the wreck. Without help, she had minutes left. Daniel swallowed hard. All right, hold on. Just hold on. He lifted her carefully into his arms. She was light, almost weightless, her body trembling. He carried her through the broken hatch back into his repair ship. The moment they entered, alarm screamed. His ship's AI spoke coldly. Warning. Alien life form detected. This action violates Galactic Law. Daniel ignored it. He laid the girl on the medical bed. She coughed violently, her breath rattling. He rushed to the emergency kit, searching for anything that could help. He found a respirator mask. It wasn't designed for aliens, but maybe it could buy her time. He pressed it to her face. She breathed weakly, chest rising a little steadier. Relief washed over him. Then her hand reached out and grabbed his wrist. Her fingers were cold, trembling. She looked at him, eyes shining with tears. She tried to speak again. This time her voice broke into two words Daniel understood. Don't leave. Daniel's throat tightened. He forced a smile. I'm not leaving. Not now. For a moment, silence filled the ship. Only the soft hiss of the respirator and the distant hum of engines remained. Daniel studied her face. She was not just an alien. She was young, delicate, innocent. She looked like someone who had never hurt anyone in her life. But the danger was real. If the Galactic Marshals found out, Daniel would be arrested, maybe executed. He knew the risk. Yet as he looked at her, he already knew his choice. He would save her. The scanner beeped again. Her vitals were unstable. The mask wouldn't hold for long. She needed more, something stronger, something he would have to build himself. Daniel sighed, his chest heavy. All right, sweetie. Looks like we're in this together. He didn't know why he used the word. Maybe to calm her, maybe to calm himself. But when she heard it, her lips moved faintly. She gave the smallest, weakest smile he had ever seen. Daniel's heart skipped. Before he could say more, another alarm blared. His radar flashed red. A patrol ship was scanning the sector. His blood went cold. If they found him now with an alien on board, it would be over. He looked down at the girl. She was breathing, but only barely. She needed him. He clenched his fists, looked at the scanner, then at her. Daniel whispered to himself, "I don't care about the law. I'll protect her, whatever it takes." The patrol's signal grew louder on his radar. The tension filled the air like fire. He quickly powered down non-essential systems, hiding his ship in the asteroid shadow. The alien girl's breathing steadied for a moment. She looked at him with tired eyes. And then, to his shock, a soft word escaped her lips, simple, almost human. "Darling." Daniel froze. The sound was innocent, confused, but it hit him like a lightning strike, and then, against all fear, against all danger, he laughed quietly. But outside, the patrol ship closed in, engines rumbling through the void. The patrol ship passed dangerously close. Daniel's heart pounded as the radar glowed red. He powered down the lights, holding his breath. The alien girl lay still on the medical bed, weak and silent, her chest rising only with the help of the respirator. "Please don't scan me. Please don't see me," Daniel whispered to himself. The patrol beam swept across the asteroid field like a blade of light. For a moment it lingered near his ship. Every second felt like a lifetime. Then with a low hum, the beam moved on. The patrol ship turned and vanished into the void. Daniel exhaled sharply. His hands trembled. That was too close, but the danger wasn't over. The girl's breathing was still uneven. The mask kept her alive, but it wasn't enough. Human oxygen levels were drowning her fragile lungs. He scanned her again, biting his lip. If he didn't act, she would not last an hour. Daniel looked at his toolkit. Wires, filters, small oxygen tanks, broken scraps from old repairs. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't a scientist, but he was an engineer. He could build. "I'll make something for you," he whispered, looking at her pale face. "Artificial lungs, temporary, just enough to keep you alive." Her eyes flickered open. She didn't understand all his words, but she understood his tone. Slowly, with effort, she whispered back, "Help me." That was enough. Daniel began working. He pulled apart the respirator, added filters from his air scrubbers, connected tubes with wires. Sparks lit the air as he fused metal pieces together. His small ship smelled of burned circuits and oil. Sweat rolled down his forehead. Every mistake cost precious minutes. Behind him, the girl coughed, her body weak. Each sound pushed him to move faster. He muttered under his breath as he worked. Come on. Just hold on." Finally, he had a rough device, ugly, uneven, but functional. He placed it gently on her chest. Two soft panels attached near her ribs, connected to a small pump. When he activated it, the machine hissed, pushing carefully balanced air into her lungs. At first, nothing happened. Then her chest rose more evenly. The coughing slowed. Her face softened with relief. Daniel almost collapsed with relief. "Yes, it works. It actually works." Her eyes opened wider this time. She stared at him, studying his face. Slowly, she spoke in broken words, trying to form human speech. "You helped me," Daniel smiled faintly. "Yeah, I helped. You're safe for now." Her lips trembled, then curved into the tiniest smile. She whispered something in her own language, musical, gentle. Daniel didn't understand, but her tone was warm. For a moment, the silence between them wasn't fear. It was fragile trust. Daniel sat beside her, exhausted, and said softly, "I should call you something. I can't keep saying alien girl." He chuckled nervously. Then, without thinking, he said, "Sweetie." Her cheeks flushed faintly, a strange glow under her skin. She blinked at him, confused, then repeated slowly, "Sweet." Daniel laughed. "Yeah, sweetie." She tilted her head, then whispered back in her broken accent, "Yes." "Darling." The word hit Daniel like a spark. He froze, then laughed again, shaking his head. No, not like that. But he couldn't stop smiling. For a moment, danger and fear felt far away. For a moment, they were just two beings laughing in the dark. But reality returned fast. His ship's AI spoke coldly again. Warning. Unauthorized life form detected. Galactic Law requires immediate report. Failure to comply will result in penalty. Daniel gritted his teeth. He turned the AI's voice off. "I know the law, but I don't care." He looked at Sweetie again. She was drifting into sleep now, her breathing steadier with the machine, but her presence was dangerous. If the Galactic Marshals discovered her, they would take her, maybe kill her. And Daniel would face execution. He had to decide, turn her in and save himself or break the law and protect her. He already knew the answer. Daniel set course away from the asteroid field. He moved deeper into the shadows of the forbidden zone. It was reckless. It was foolish. But it was the only way to keep her hidden. Minutes turned into hours. Daniel kept checking the artificial lungs, making sure the pump stayed steady. He repaired wires, adjusted filters, and whispered to her even while she slept. "You're going to be fine. I'll keep you safe." Then the radar beeped again. His stomach dropped. Multiple patrol signals were sweeping the region. They had detected something. Maybe the crash, maybe his energy signature. He cursed under his breath. "They're searching." The girl stirred weakly, opening her glowing eyes. She saw the red lights on the radar. She whispered one word in fear. "Council." Daniel frowned. "You know them?" She nodded faintly. Then, in broken human words, she added, "They killed me." Daniel's blood turned cold. The council didn't just forbid rescue. They wanted her dead. But why? Who was she really? He didn't ask yet. He only tightened his grip on the controls and muttered, "Then I won't let them find you. Not now, not ever." The patrol signals grew stronger. Engines roared closer in the distance. Daniel turned off his main systems and dove into a nearby nebula. Gas clouds wrapped the ship, hiding it from scanners, but inside, lightning storms crackled dangerously. The ship shook violently. Sparks burst from the panels. The girl cried out in fear. Daniel grabbed her hand and held it tight. "Don't worry. I've got you. We'll make it through." The nebula thundered around them, shadows of patrol ships moving just beyond the cloud. One wrong move and they would be caught. Daniel kept his eyes forward, teeth clenched as the ship rattled. Somewhere deep inside, he knew, this was only the beginning. The nebula was silent now, only faint lightning flashing in the distance. Daniel's ship floated deep inside the cloud, hidden from patrol scanners. The engines were off, running only on emergency power. Outside, the storm glowed purple and blue. Inside, everything felt tense, heavy, and fragile. Daniel sat near the alien girl, watching the artificial lungs he had built. The machine clicked softly, pumping air into her chest with each hiss. Every time it worked, relief touched his heart. But every time it sputtered, fear returned. He whispered to himself, "Just keep working, please. Don't stop now." The girl stirred, opening her glowing blue eyes again. She blinked at him, weak but curious. Her voice came out low and broken. "Where are we?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Safe for now. We're inside a nebula. They can't see us," she frowned, not understanding everything. But when he placed a hand on the ship's wall and mimed a big circle, she nodded slowly. "Hide," she said. "That's right," Daniel answered. "We're hiding." For a moment, silence stretched. Daniel reached for his toolbox again. The device he had built was temporary. If it failed, she would die. He had to improve it. He pulled wires, added cooling tubes, checked the filters. His hands worked quickly, his mind racing. The girl watched him. Her lips moved, trying to form words. "You make life." Daniel froze. The way she said it struck him. He looked at her. "I'm just keeping you alive. That's all." She shook her head weakly, silver hair falling across her face. "No, you give life." Daniel swallowed hard, unsure what to say. For the first time in years, someone looked at him not like a mechanic, not like a tool for fixing things, but as something more. Hours passed. The storm outside rattled the ship, but inside, Daniel and the girl began to share small words. She tried to repeat his language, simple sounds, simple names. He pointed to objects. "This," he said, holding up a wrench. "This," she echoed, struggling with the S. He laughed. "Close enough." She pointed at herself, then at him. "You name?" "Daniel," he said, tapping his chest. "Daniel." She tried to repeat it, but it came out soft and strange. "Daniel." "That's fine," he chuckled. "And you? What's your name?" Her lips moved, forming a long string of alien sounds, lyrical and impossible for him to copy. He blinked. I don't think my tongue can handle that." She tilted her head, amused by his failure. Then to his surprise, she whispered, "Sweetie." Daniel's face burned. "Wait, no, that's your name now, not mine." She smiled faintly, eyes glowing with quiet humor. "Sweetie," she said again, pointing at herself. Daniel groaned, hiding his face. I shouldn't have said that word. Then she pointed at him. Her voice wavered, but she whispered clearly, "Darling." Daniel froze. For a moment, the fear of patrols, the weight of the law, the broken machine, all of it disappeared. He laughed, shaking his head. This is going to get confusing fast. The laughter was small, but it was real. It built something stronger than the device on her chest. It built trust. Daniel kept working. He adjusted the artificial lungs until they hummed smoother, quieter. He cut pieces of his own oxygen mask and fused them into her device. He gave up his spare air filters, even though it meant he'd have to breathe thinner air. When he grew tired, she touched his arm lightly, her hand glowing faint blue in the dim light. "Rest," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "Can't rest. If this breaks, you're gone." She studied him, her glowing eyes soft. Then slowly she said, "You..." "Brave," he laughed weakly. "No, just stubborn." Later, as the ship drifted deeper into the nebula, Daniel pulled out his datapad. He tried showing her simple images, Earth's oceans, forests, the sky. She gasped softly at the blue sea, pointing with trembling fingers. "Home?" "Yes," Daniel nodded. "That's my home," her eyes filled with wonder. She pointed at herself, then looked down sadly. "No, home," Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" She struggled with words, but slowly explained. "Taken. By bad ones, run, far, alone." The pieces clicked together in his mind. She wasn't just lost, she was escaping. Hunted. That's why the council wanted her gone. She wasn't supposed to be free. His jaw tightened. "You're safe now. I won't let them touch you." Her hand reached out again, weak but determined, and rested over his. Her eyes locked with his. She whispered in broken human words, "Trust. You." Daniel's chest ached. He closed his hand around hers gently. "And I trust you." The moment was interrupted by a sudden alarm. His radar flickered again. Patrol ships had entered the edge of the nebula, scanning deeper. Daniel cursed under his breath. "They're persistent." The girl looked at the red lights on the radar, fear returning to her face. She whispered, "Council." "Near." Daniel nodded grimly. "Yes, sir, and they're not going to stop." He powered up the engine slowly, careful not to give off too much energy. The ship rattled, lights flickering. The nebula storms would make flying dangerous, but staying still meant capture. He turned back to her, voice steady. "Hold on, sweetie. We're not done running yet." She gave the faintest smile, whispering back, "Yes, darling." And with that, Daniel pushed the ship deeper into the storm. The council patrols closing in from behind. The nebula storm crackled like fire in the sky. Daniel's small ship shook as it pushed through the glowing clouds, lightning flashing across the windows. The engines whined, struggling against the thick gases. Behind them, red signals flashed on the radar. Council patrols moving closer. Daniel gripped the controls. His jaw was tight, his eyes focused. "They're faster than us," he muttered. The alien girl, Sweetie, sat weakly on the medical bed. The artificial lungs hissed softly on her chest, keeping her alive. She watched him with wide, glowing eyes. "Council? Find?" Daniel nodded grimly. "They're trying." The ship lurched as a beam of light cut through the nebula, sweeping like a hunting eye. Daniel killed the engines, letting the ship drift. The beam passed close, too close, before sliding away. For a moment, silence returned, but then the radar screamed. Multiple dots appeared, moving fast. Patrol cruisers had locked onto him. Daniel cursed. "They know." He slammed the thrusters. The ship shot forward, tearing through the nebula clouds. Behind, council cruisers roared, their lights cutting through the storm. The chase had begun. Daniel weaved between glowing gas pockets and sharp rocks hidden in the cloud. Each movement was tight, desperate. Plasma beams cut past his ship, sizzling through the nebula like deadly lightning. Sweetie gripped the edge of the bed, her voice trembling. "Fast! Fast!" Daniel forced a grin. "Hold on, sweetie. You're about to see how a human flies." He dove the ship down through a narrow gap between two floating rocks. The hull scraped, sparks bursting. One of the patrol ships tried to follow, too close. It smashed against the rock, exploding in a flash of light. Sweetie gasped. Her eyes widened. "You win?" Daniel shook his head. "Not yet. That was just one." More ships appeared on the radar, bigger ones. Minutes passed in chaos. Daniel twisted the ship through asteroid tunnels, dodging blasts. Each near miss made his heart race. Sweat dripped down his forehead. His hands ached from gripping the controls too tightly. Then the nebula thinned. The ship burst out into open space. For a brief moment, stars stretched endlessly before them, quiet and calm. But calm never lasted. Ahead, a shadow filled the view. Massive. Dark. A ship so huge it blocked out the stars. The Council dreadnought. Daniel's stomach sank. Oh no. Sweetie's face paled. She whispered one word, heavy with fear. Death. The dreadnought's cannons powered up, glowing with energy. Smaller patrol ships swarmed around it, forming a net. Daniel gritted his teeth. We can't fight. We can't run straight. We need a trick. He scanned the map quickly. There, a dense asteroid field to the right. Dangerous, but maybe his only chance. He yanked the controls, diving toward it. The patrols followed like wolves. The asteroid field was chaos. Hundreds of rocks floated, colliding, breaking apart. Daniel flew through the gaps, dodging spinning stone and iron. The ship shook violently, alarms screaming. One patrol ship hit an asteroid, bursting apart. Another clipped a rock and spun into the darkness. Daniel pushed harder, weaving through tighter gaps. His ship scraped again, warning lights flashing. Too close, Sweetie cried. Close is the only way, Daniel shouted back. A blast hit the rear of his ship. The hull shuddered. Sparks flew inside. Panels flickered. The artificial lungs on Sweetie's chest sputtered for a second, making her gasp. Daniel's heart froze. He slammed a hand on the machine, fixing the loose tube. Stay with me, Sweetie. Don't quit on me now. Her hand reached out, trembling, touching his arm. Darling, she whispered weakly. Daniel's jaw tightened. I've got you. I promise. He pushed the ship deeper into the asteroid maze. Then he saw it, a narrow crack between two giant rocks barely wider than his ship. No cruiser could follow, but if he miscalculated by even a meter, he'd be destroyed. Daniel inhaled sharply. Here we go. The ship screamed as he forced it into the gap. Metal scraped. Alarms blared. The walls closed in like jaws. Sweetie squeezed her eyes shut. And then, light. They burst out the other side. Behind them, the patrol ships tried to follow. The first slammed into the wall, exploding. The second pulled back, too large to fit. The rest scattered. For a moment, silence returned. Daniel slumped back, breathing hard. His ship was battered but alive. Sweetie's chest rose steadily again, the machine still working. They had escaped. For now. Daniel set the ship to drift among the shadows of the asteroids. He finally allowed himself a tired laugh. Well, that was fun. Sweetie tilted her head, confused. Fun? Yeah, Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. Okay, maybe not fun, but we survived. Sweetie's lips curved into a faint smile. Her voice was soft, almost teasing. Darling, crazy. Daniel laughed again. Yeah, I've heard that before. For a brief moment, the danger felt far away. They were two survivors in the dark, laughing at the edge of disaster. But then Daniel's radar beeped again. He looked and froze. The dreadnought was moving. Slowly, like a predator, it turned toward the asteroid field. It wasn't done hunting. Daniel's smile faded. He whispered, "This isn't over." Sweetie's hand gripped his tighter, as if she understood. And outside, the shadow of the dreadnought swallowed the stars. The shadow of the Council dreadnought still lingered in Daniel's mind as his ship drifted deeper into the asteroid field. The engines were quiet now, running on the lowest power. Every light was dimmed. The ship looked like just another piece of broken rock floating in the dark. Inside, the air was heavy with silence. Only the faint hum of the artificial lungs broke it. Hiss, click, hiss, click. Each sound reminded Daniel how close life and death stood together inside his small ship. Sweetie lay on the medical bed, her glowing eyes half closed. She was breathing steadier now, but her face was pale. Daniel sat near her, fixing a broken panel by hand, every movement slow and careful. He whispered, "We can't stay here long. If the dreadnought scans again, we're finished." Sweetie blinked weakly, her lips parting. "Hide. Safe?" Daniel hesitated. He wanted to tell her yes, but lying didn't feel right. Safe for now, not forever. Hours passed in silence. Outside, asteroids drifted like silent giants. Sometimes they collided, shaking the ship with low rumbles. Daniel kept working on the lungs device, improving it piece by piece. He pulled out scraps from his ship, filter cloth, water tubing, even parts from his food recycler. When sparks flew, Sweetie flinched. Her hand reached out and grabbed his sleeve. He smiled faintly. "Don't worry, just sparks, won't hurt you." She didn't let go. Daniel sighed, letting her hold on. "You're braver than me, you know." Sweetie tilted her head, not understanding. He pointed at himself. "Me. Scared." Then he pointed at her. "You. Brave." Her eyes softened. She whispered carefully, "No. You brave." Daniel chuckled under his breath. "Guess we're both stubborn." Later, he pulled out his datapad again, showing her more images. Earth forests, birds flying, children laughing. She stared with wonder, touching the screen gently as if the images were alive. "Beautiful," she whispered, the word clear. Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest. He asked softly, "What's your world like?" She hesitated, struggling for words. Finally, she spoke slowly. "Big sky, green fire, rivers of light. My people. Sing." Her eyes filled with sadness. "No more. Gone." Daniel froze. "Gone? You mean?" She nodded weakly. "Taken. Burned. Alone." His chest ached. Suddenly he understood why the council wanted her erased. She wasn't just a runaway. She was the last piece of something powerful, something they didn't want to survive. He placed a hand gently over hers. "You're not alone anymore." Her glowing eyes met his, soft, vulnerable. She whispered, "Trust, darling." Daniel smiled faintly. "I trust you too, sweetie." But the peace shattered when the radar beeped. Faint signals pulsed in the distance. Patrol ships were sweeping the asteroid field, searching slowly, patiently. Daniel killed the screen, dimmed the last lights, and leaned close to Sweetie. "Don't make a sound." Her breathing quickened, fear in her glowing eyes. The hiss of the lungs device suddenly felt too loud, too sharp. Each click echoed in the silence like a drumbeat. The patrol beams cut through the asteroids, sweeping back and forth. Daniel watched the radar, sweat rolling down his neck. One signal passed close, too close. The ship rattled as a beam hit the outer hull. Sweetie gasped, covering her mouth, eyes wide. Daniel grabbed her hand and squeezed it tight, whispering, "Shh, it's okay." Minutes felt like hours. The beams moved away. Finally, the signals grew faint again. The patrols drifted to another part of the field. Daniel let out a long, shaky breath. That was close. The silence after felt heavier. Sweetie's chest rose fast, fear still inside her. Daniel brushed a strand of silver hair from her face. "It's all right now, we're still here." She stared at him, eyes glimmering. Slowly, she whispered, "Why, help me. You break law, you die." Daniel looked at her for a long time. His voice was steady when he answered, "Because leaving you to die would be worse than death." Her lips trembled. She blinked fast, tears glowing faintly in the dim light. "Darling." Daniel smiled gently. "Yeah, darling." Hours turned into the edge of sleep. Daniel sat slumped in his chair, tools scattered around him. Sweetie's breathing was soft now, steady, almost peaceful. But then the scanner lit again. Not patrols this time. Something else. A faint signal. A transponder hidden deep in the asteroid field. Daniel frowned. "What is that?" He boosted the signal, decoding it slowly. His eyes widened. It was a distress beacon. Old, damaged, but still alive. Sweetie stirred, her eyes opening. She looked at the screen, then back at him. Her voice shook. "Trap." Daniel's stomach sank. She was right. The council was clever. Leave a beacon, wait for fools like him to answer, then capture them. He shut it off quickly, but the fear remained. The council wasn't just hunting randomly. They were setting traps. And now they were closing in. Daniel looked at Sweetie. Her hand still rested over his, fragile but warm. He whispered to himself, "I can't run forever. I'll have to fight for her. Somehow." Sweetie's eyes closed again, drifting into rest. The hiss of the lungs echoed steady in the silence. Daniel sat awake in the dark, watching the stars through the cracks between asteroids. The galaxy felt colder than ever, but when her fingers tightened faintly around his hand, he smiled. Her heartbeat was still there, still strong, and for that heartbeat, he would risk everything. The silence of the asteroid field didn't last. Daniel had just adjusted the artificial lungs when the radar screamed again. This time the signals weren't distant. They were closing fast. A fleet of council patrol ships had found his hiding place. His stomach dropped. "They've locked on." Sweetie stirred, glowing eyes opening. Her face paled when she saw the red lights on the radar. "Council!" Daniel grabbed the controls, but it was too late. A thunderous vibration shook the ship. Hooks and clamps latched onto the hull. The council had sent a boarding party. He jumped up, heart pounding. "No, no, no!" The ship's hatch screeched open with a flash of sparks. Armored soldiers poured inside, tall, faceless, their suits glowing with council insignias. Their voices boomed through speakers. "Human vessel, you are under arrest for violation of Galactic Law. Surrender the alien life form." Daniel moved in front of Sweetie instinctively. "You'll have to go through me first." The soldiers raised their rifles. One stepped forward, cold and steady. "Step aside. This creature is not allowed to live." Sweetie gasped weakly, clutching at the machine on her chest. Her voice shook. "Darling," Daniel clenched his fist, "over my dead body." He grabbed his toolkit and hurled it at the soldiers. Tools scattered across the floor, clanging loudly. The soldiers fired, blasts tearing through the walls. Daniel ducked, pulling Sweetie behind a panel. Sparks rained from the ceiling. He pulled out his plasma cutter, the only weapon he had. The small beam hissed as he swung it, slicing into one soldier's armor. The guard stumbled back, circuits sparking. But there were too many. They pushed forward, firing again. A blast tore across the medical bed, nearly hitting Sweetie. She screamed, the sound weak but sharp. Daniel's chest burned with rage. He shouted, "Stay away from her." The artificial lungs sputtered suddenly, the tubes shaking from the impacts. Sweetie gasped for breath, her chest heaving. Daniel froze. "No, no, not now." He dropped the cutter, diving back to her side. The device blinked red. A coil had snapped loose. Without it, she would suffocate. He ripped wires from the wall, hands moving desperately. Sparks bit into his fingers, but he ignored the pain. His vision blurred with sweat and fear. "Hold on, Sweetie. Just hold on." Soldiers stormed closer. One aimed his rifle directly at her. Daniel screamed, "No!" He slammed the repaired coil into place. The machine roared back to life, hissing air into her lungs. Sweetie coughed, then breathed steady again. At that same second, Daniel lunged at the soldier with his plasma cutter, slashing across the rifle. The weapon exploded in sparks. The soldier fell back, but Daniel couldn't fight forever. Two guards grabbed him from behind, forcing him to the ground. His cutter clattered across the floor. He struggled, kicking, but they pinned his arms. Sweetie cried out, her voice breaking. "No, darling." The lead soldier stepped forward, rifle pointed at her heart. "The alien dies here," Daniel roared, straining against the grip. "Don't touch her!" For a moment the air held still. Then a deep voice filled the ship, louder than the soldiers. "Stop!" Everyone froze. From the hatch, a tall figure entered, cloaked in silver and gold. His helmet was marked with the crest of the High Council. A martial commander. His voice carried no mercy. "Take them both," he ordered. The soldiers obeyed. They chained Daniel's wrists, dragged him to his feet. Sweetie was lifted, still connected to the artificial lungs, her weak hands reaching toward him. Their fingers brushed for only a second before they were torn apart. The world turned to metal walls and silence. Daniel blinked as they dragged him into the massive council dreadnought. Its halls were cold, polished, filled with the weight of power. Soldiers marched on all sides. He was shoved into a courtroom of shining steel. At the center, a great judge's throne rose high. The judge sat cloaked in black, face hidden, voice echoing through the chamber. Human Daniel Cross, the judge declared. You stand guilty of violating galactic law. You have harbored a forbidden life form. The punishment is death. Daniel's throat was dry. He shouted anyway. She's not forbidden. She's alive. She's innocent. The judge slammed a gavel. The sound thundered. Silence. Sweetie was dragged into the chamber next. She struggled weakly, the machine on her chest still hissing. Her glowing eyes locked onto Daniel's. He cried out, pulling against the chains. Sweetie. The judge raised a hand. The alien will be destroyed. The human will be executed. Daniel's chest twisted. Rage and despair boiled inside him. But before the soldiers could move, Sweetie forced herself forward. Her voice was weak, trembling, but it echoed across the chamber. I am not forbidden. Gasps filled the room. She stood taller, trembling but fierce. Her silver hair glowed under the lights. I, Princess of Illyria, heir to throne. You kill me. You break law. The chamber went silent. Even the judge hesitated. Daniel stared, eyes wide. Princess? Sweetie's hand trembled as she pointed at him. Her voice cracked, but her words were clear. He saved me. He is mine. Free him. The judge's silence stretched, heavy, cold, unbroken. The entire chamber waited for the verdict. Daniel's heart pounded so loud he could barely breathe. His eyes never left hers. She had risked everything to protect him. Finally, the judge's voice boomed again. This changes everything. But his tone carried no kindness. Only danger. The fate of both now hung in the balance. The council chamber was silent. Every eye watched the judge. The black-robed figure sat frozen, hands resting on the great gavel, face hidden behind shadow. The words still hung in the air. Princess of Illyria. Sweetie stood weakly, her artificial lungs hissing with each breath. Yet she lifted her chin, silver hair glowing faintly in the cold light. Her voice trembled but carried strength. He saved me. Without him, I die. I call him mine. Daniel's heart pounded. He stood in chains, blood on his face, breath ragged from the fight. But when he looked at her, he felt no fear. Only pride. The chamber buzzed. Whispers spread like fire. Princess, alive? Impossible, her world is gone. If true, this changes everything. The judge raised a hand. Silence returned. His voice echoed cold and sharp. Proof. Where is your proof, alien? Sweetie's eyes burned with light. She lifted her hand and from her palm a mark appeared, glowing like a starburst shimmering across her skin. Gasps filled the hall. The crest of Illyria. Daniel's eyes widened. You weren't lying. The judge's gavel struck once. The crest is real. The heir lives. His voice hardened. But you, human, still broke the law. Daniel's chest tightened. He shouted, Then punish me! But let her live. Sweetie shook her head, stepping closer despite her weakness. No, he lives. With me, he is not criminal. He is protector. The chamber erupted again in voices. The judge's gavel slammed. Enough! The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, the judge leaned forward. His voice was deep, slow, dangerous. The law is clear. No human may harbor alien life. But the law bends to royalty. If the princess declares this human under her protection, then he belongs to her. Sweetie's lips trembled. She looked at Daniel, her eyes soft and shining. Slowly, she whispered, Mine. Daniel blinked, stunned. Wait, what does that mean for me? The judge's voice answered, It means your life is spared, but you are bound to Illyria. You are no longer free. Daniel stared at Sweetie. Chains weighed heavy on his wrists, yet when he saw her faint smile through the tears, something inside him melted. He nodded slowly. Then I'll take it. The gavel struck. So be it. Case closed. The chains fell from his wrists. Soldiers lowered their rifles. The chamber emptied slowly, whispers following them. The Princess of Illyria had returned, and with her, the human who had defied the law. Daniel moved to Sweetie's side. She swayed, almost falling. He caught her in his arms. Careful. You're still weak? Her lips curled into the faintest smile. Darling, still here? He chuckled, shaking his head. Yeah, still here. Later, Daniel stood on the balcony of her new ship, a royal cruiser given to her by law. Stars stretched endlessly before them. The warship engines hummed beneath his feet. He had never felt so small, and yet so alive. Sweetie joined him, her artificial lungs still strapped to her chest but working smoothly. Her silver hair floated in the gentle breeze of recycled air. She stood close, almost leaning against him. Daniel sighed. "So, you're really a princess?" She smiled softly.
Yes, and you?
"My darling," he groaned, rubbing his forehead. "I was hoping you'd forget that part." She tilted her head, playful now. "No forget, sweetie." "Darling," Daniel laughed quietly. "If anyone else calls me that, I'm running away." Her laughter joined his, soft at first, then louder. The sound echoed through the balcony, filling the cold stars with warmth. For a moment, they couldn't stop. The galaxy, the council, the danger, everything disappeared in their laughter. But when the laughter faded, silence returned, gentler this time. Sweetie's glowing eyes looked at him, serious now. "You saved me, why?" Daniel's chest tightened. He thought for a moment, then answered simply, "Because the law said to let you die. And I couldn't, simple as that." Her eyes shimmered, tears forming again. She whispered, "You give me new life." He shook his head. "No, you gave me one. I was just a mechanic floating in space fixing broken junk. Now I've got a reason to fight." A silence passed between them, not empty but full. Then Sweetie leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. "Stay with me. My world gone. I build new one. Not without you." Daniel looked out at the stars, then back at her. His lips curled into a faint smile. "Well, princess, I guess I don't really have a choice anymore." She laughed softly, her cheeks glowing faintly pink. "Yes, mine." He chuckled, shaking his head. "Fine, sweetie, yours." The stars glittered around them, cold and endless. But on that balcony, standing side by side, they felt warm. Their hands touched, fingers interlocking. The machine on her chest hissed softly. Steady. Alive. Daniel whispered almost to himself. "The galaxy feels less lonely when you laugh." Sweetie's smile widened. "Then laugh more." Daniel looked at her, then burst into laughter again. She joined him, their voices mixing, rising, filling the night. And for the first time in a galaxy ruled by law and fear, two hearts laughed freely together.